I'm sure all of you have heard the news that Todd Monken has gone to the NFL. Even worse, Kirby Smart kept the offensive coordinator job in-house and promoted Mike Bobo. Yeah, Bobo. As in the guy who held an offensive analyst title this past year at UGA after getting fired as Brian Harson's one-and-done offensive coordinator. As in the guy who was supposed to save Will Muschamp's job at South Carolina when he was hired there for the 2020 season. Saw the Gamecocks boast a number 98 scoring offense in a 2-win season. The same guy who was Mark Richt's right-hand man. There's no way to say if this is a good hire or not. You either love Bobo or you hate him. Commenting and reading comments from all over. And it seems like there's two kind of fans at Georgia. The ones that really care about the team, and then you've got the ones who think they must fall in love with the coach, and the coach can do no wrong. We tend to do that here at Georgia. We tend to idolize our coach. For 1 year, with the talent we got, even Bobo might be able to navigate us to the title. It's possible. Now, Georgia has as much talent as anybody in college football from 2017 to 2019. What did it not have? The right scheme and the right play caller. The Dogs are too predictable. It's why in 2019 they averaged 223 passing yards per game, and when they faced the AP's top 25 finishers, they averaged just 20.8 points. With a third-year starting quarterback. Under Monken in 2022, those numbers jumped to 46.6 points per game, 296.8 passing yards per game. Monken is the guy who could execute an up-tempo offense at a high level. And Bobo is the guy who said, as recently as 2020, that the no-huddle offense has led to football fundamentally going downhill. Because of going so fast. And Bobo's FBS ranked in scoring offense and yards per play since he left Georgia after 2014 are underwhelming. By the numbers, as you stat guys, you stat coots say, he averages 40 points a game. Well, he did in the era that he coached. But he hasn't done it in the recent era. Football's changed since 2012. And by the way, he didn't exactly win a ton of titles for Georgia. He played for some, but in every season there was always a boneheaded decision that would cost them a game they should have won easily. Those are things I don't let go of easily. And I don't want to put that kind of guy back in charge of what could be a really spectacular run. And then you got the guys that say, well, Mike Bobo knows the SEC. Well, they know him. They say Mike Bobo is a good recruiter. Georgia is recruiting pretty well, but without him. I don't see any real addition to putting the program at risk by hiring someone who has had the opportunities to really bring some great things to Georgia, and he just simply didn't get it done. Not in the way that we're certainly gotten used to lately. Has he changed? People say, well, he's changed. But then why is a coach who just came off back-to-back national titles having to resort to hiring a coach who might have changed? He might have changed. He's not the same guy. That's not good enough. And the real question is maybe what's really going on? Is Kirby going back to the ways, the things like Dabo's doing and just hiring his friends and trying to get real comfortable because, we won back-to-back. It's going to be a piece of cake now. I can just put my friends in there, let them get their retirement, and the team will chug along just fine. Maybe they will. And maybe Bobo did learn something from working under Todd Monken. Maybe. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would actually be willing to learn anything. He's a pretty hard-headed guy. And maybe I've given him too little credit. But observing his comments, observing his demeanor, the problems he had at Colorado, the reasons they fired him, they weren't all football related. They knew that Colorado State wasn't a football power, but he had trouble with other things. Well, and there were some pretty serious allegations about Well, racism. He had to deal with that. So, is that the kind of element we want to bring into our elite program? I think we should really try to be elite at all levels. And once you start reducing that bar, it tends to keep going that way. The jury will be out. There's a new quarterback and a new coordinator, so there's your built-in excuse for 1 year. Is Kirby Smart good enough to make excuses for more than 1 year? As a Georgia fan, decided that after experiencing what it really feels like to be at the top, are they ready to go back to almost? I know I'm not. Now, in my video I did about the 2012 Georgia-Alabama game, I actually called Mark Richt the king of almost. And I felt he deserved that. But you know what? I really think that bringing Bobo in was when Mark Richt started to go downhill, because he really had Georgia on a pretty good trajectory from 2002, 2007. He had a great team. But you go, and Bobo came in 2007. And so what did they do? What were the great moments that Bobo helped to bring? They did have great teams in 2011, 2012, but those teams lost games. And they did not win the 2012 game. And man, the play calling on that last drive, absolutely abhorrent. You could almost blame Bobo for losing that 2012 game. You didn't call a timeout and get the team set. Could have been the quarterback's fault. I don't know. But bungled things like that, the bungling and the mismanagement of resources that Bobo has to be responsible for, would certainly have disqualified him from any consideration. Even as the analyst that he became, I would never have brought him back into the room. He wants to be in the alumni banquets, he's welcome, because he's an alumni. He has got no reason being in that locker room. And I don't really know what he's going to add. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait and see. And like I said, it's probably not going to be a 1 year process, because if he stumbles and bumbles, you got the built-in excuse, the brand new quarterback and a brand new coordinator. So this is a critical time. If they just brought Bobo in just to be a buddy and to keep the old guy network, then they made a grievous mistake. I don't think Georgia's fallen to that level, but only time will tell. In just a minute, I'm going to go back and we're going to review some of Bobo's some numbers that he had. We're going to talk a little in depth about, and let's see if he really was a good coordinator, because the jury is probably out on that as well. Well, I think I've made it perfectly clear my stance on Mike Bobo being hired as the offensive coordinator for Georgia. Obviously, I'm a no vote. Nay. I wouldn't have voted for him. Obviously, I'm not in the room, but I don't have to be to see what he's done. I don't like his track record, and there's some other things just about him personally that, from his time in Colorado State, that troubles me. There's some things about him from his playing days, some things that occurred. He was a wild college kid. Everybody has that stage. But, I mean, I'm not exactly sure Mike Bobo was the best choice, was my main complaint. Yeah, you can point to the stats. If that's all you're worried about, that's how we hired Marty Schottenheimer. You know, you gotta get the guy you want. So Kirby got the guy he wanted, and now it's making me wonder just a little about him. Yeah, he's won 2 titles because he has an organization, and he's doing this process correctly. But was hiring Mike Bobo a step in the wrong direction from that process? I think it might have been, because Kirby Smart has shown early on that he doesn't quite embrace modern offense in football. He has been kind of force-fed it. Maybe he likes the taste. I would think he would. But hiring Mike Bobo is an indication that Does Kirby just hire the guy that's going to go along with his idea that we don't really want it to be a explosive offense? We just want to kill the clock so my defense can shine. Kirby's got a little of that in him. He had a lot of that in him at one point, because that's why we had the year in 2019. And that team, if it could score like this one, was as good as any we've had. If you want to be a long-term successful coach, you have to reinvent yourself over and over. You know, so there are some indications that Kirby Smart had this kind of planned all along. He must have known that Todd Monken wasn't going to be there forever, and he brought in Bobo, almost a year ago. Looked like he was just doing him a favor, and maybe he was. And there's nothing wrong with a Mike Bobo getting a good deal at Georgia to go out. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as he's good enough, I guess, to call the plays for Georgia. But I certainly hope that was just a stepping stone. It's not going to stop me from enjoying the fact that my team has won 2 back-to-back titles, and it looks like they have the best organization in college football. And we're just going to have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I do believe that if Mike Bobo doesn't, as many of his detractors suggest, if he doesn't do better, I don't think he'll be roaming the sidelines multiple years doing some of the shenanigans he did when he was here the first time. And so that is at least the hope we can all have.